Father, we praise you for all that you do for us. It seems that a lot of people have lost their faith over the last few years, and we ask that this season we all have a chance to review, and that we put our faith back in you, and we don't live in fear. We pray for all the leaders in D.C. and Tallahassee, and ask that you guide us here to do the work necessary for our children. And while there's going to be many tables that will have an empty chair, while we gather with our families, allow us to recognize their needs and hopefully cross their paths and show the compassion that's needed. We ask this in your name. Thank you, Father.
Amen. Calling the workshop to order for the Clay County School Board, and today's date is Wednesday, December 14th, 2021. I think that makes it 7 to 8 days, 6 days, whatever, till Christmas. 10 days till Christmas. Anyway, welcome citizens of Clay County. Yeah. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend today's school board meeting workshop. This workshop is our opportunity as your elected representatives to collaborate, Mary, openly among ourselves and make decisions that will decide the future direction of our public schools and the education of our children here in Clay County. There will be an opportunity for the public to ask questions at the end of the workshop presentation. Questions will be allowed, public comment will not be allowed. If you wish to ask a question, please fill out a comment card and hand it to our deputy. Your participation is welcomed and appreciated. Mr. Brodsky.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday.
Just want to take the opportunity to wish everybody Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year just to start, and thank you all for your support, during these past couple of years and in the future as we move forward. So many things to be thankful for and so many blessings that we have, and I certainly appreciative of the board and the relationship that we have working forward for the students of Clay County. So with that in mind, we do have Lakeside Elementary Chorus will be there. That is the student showcase, and Lakeside Elementary will be our school showcase, so we're looking forward to that. I think we're down to, correct me, Ms. Honora, 2 schools that have not appeared. And what's so nice is not only seeing the students at the last meeting, but also when the principal was called, she was excited, like, oh yeah, it's finally my turn. Like, they really look forward to doing that, and so I just thought I would relay that to the board, that they really do look forward to going to that. And it's nice to have a sense of normalcy, back with all that's happened in the past.
Are we still rotating the artwork in that room with school to school?
I plan to. I have requested, but I also let Ms. Wolf know that I understood that with the compressed time schedule we're working on, if she's not able to come up with some artwork,
right,
that we would certainly understand the rationale for giving her a pass. But yes, we do intend to get back to that as well.
I love that we've made that room more student friendly, showing them artwork and having their
Well, and we've had, this past week was Citizens, and then prior to that was drug-free artwork, and
yeah.
I mean, there's been plenty of
Founders
Yeah.
Day art.
Founders Day artwork.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's nice that it's because we had a long span, if you remember, where it was the same Founders Day artwork for like maybe the whole year. Excuse me. So it's nice that it's rotated. We're seeing elementary and high school. Thank you.
So for recognition, we have our PBIS schools. We're going to celebrate them. Our Teacher of the Year semifinalists, we're going to celebrate them, and the academic team champions. So as far as the regular agenda, the first item is the minutes of the student discipline hearings and the regular school board meeting on December 9th. I'm assuming there's no discussion there. Number 2 is controlled open enrollment. Each year under statute 1002.31, we have to put forth a plan to deal with controlled open enrollment. In the past couple of years, I am proud of the board's efforts when it comes to rezoning. So just to kind of review, we did some movement from Lake Asbury Junior High to Lakeside Junior High. We did some movement from Tynes to Coppergate, Oakleaf to Orange Park, Oakleaf to Ridgeview, Oakleaf Junior to Orange Park Junior. With all of those things in mind, when you look at equalizing and schools getting to the 80% threshold, there's really 3 schools that are open for open enrollment, and they are Charles E. Bennett, Montclair, and S. Bryan Jennings. When you look at that, at the movement that's occurred, all the other schools would be close to the 80% or at the 80% threshold as a result of those movements. Okay, number 3 is the extended school year calendar. We routinely approve the extended school year calendar for our ESE students. You can see that this year will be held at Lake Asbury Junior, McRae Elementary, and Bannerman Learning Center. Number 4 is personnel consent agenda. And of course, we'll re-update that just prior to the meeting. Number 5 is a celebration. 5 and 6 are huge celebrations. So first, just to go in order, is our CESPA contract. We've reached tentative agreement with them. Many thanks to Ms. Troutman and her team and the team from CESPA for this. You know that this increased support employees' salary by 75 cents an hour, and also moves us closer. One of the challenges financially for us is the state mandate to reach $15 an hour, and so we're moving closer to that. This puts our minimum wage at our lowest paid employee after approval by both the board and by the bargaining unit would be at $12 an hour. So celebrations to the board, for stabilizing the workforce. There's no doubt when we get to legislative priorities, labor shortages are a real thing. So they're a real thing in Clay County District Schools also, just like every other, business or area of employment. So very proud of the team, very proud of the support that you guys have shown our employees and both of our bargaining units. Very thankful for the atmosphere and generosity shown by the board. So thank you so much.
When will both of the associations be ratifying?
So what we would traditionally do is we'll put together a ratification packet, which is a summary of all the changes. We usually give it to our bargaining unit. Our bargaining unit kind of reviews to make sure that there's no discrepancies between both groups. Once that happens, we'll attach it to the board agenda, because there's many pages, many documents involved in this process. When we come back, we're asking the board to vote on January 6th. It usually has to be posted by the bargaining unit for a week. We hadn't decided on an actual ratification vote date, but I would bet it would be the Monday after, or Monday or Tuesday after that first week back, whatever that date is, because it has to be posted for a week at the school. So we would know that. At that point, then the process would be on the February board agenda. We would then have the complete salary schedule document, which would include all of these changes, would be brought forward, at that time. So
Mary, have your pen ready.
It's blue, it's ready. I'm ready.
a lot to celebrate. We're one of the few districts who have reached tentative agreement, I guess is where we're at this point, technically. And very thankful to be there and to show good cooperation, collaboration with both units. So the next one is not to be outdone, is our CCEA group, and we've reached tentative agreement there. This would bring our starting teacher salary to $47,500, would meet the governor's and the teacher salary legislation would meet that mandate there, which would then allow us to go back to the normal negotiation cycle that we would do. So we realize that labor is an extremely competitive thing in today's society, and so being at 47.5 would put us ahead of some of our neighboring districts, which would give us a competitive edge as we look at it. Again, very thankful for the collaboration with our bargaining units and, looking forward to continue that relationship. Okay, we're up to 7, which is out-of-state travel. That's the normal out-of-state travel. Number 8 is an amendment to the dual enrollment articulation agreement with St. John's River State College. This amendment allows St. John's to recuperate some grant money that's still no cost to us or our students, in case you were wondering on why that's brought forward. Number 9 is to advertise for the adoption of our 6 through 12 mathematics material. This year coming up is math. You know, last year we did ELA, and so math 6 through 12 is going to be up for adoption. We're going to start that process, and January 3rd, big meeting of teachers, vetting of that process, and being in line with 1006.283 about noticing this information.
And it will be available if any parents would like to view.
Anybody wants to see it, they're
It's
more than
on-
welcome. We could even
It
give them
is
some
attached
problems
to
to
the
do.
agenda, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, we could give them some problems also.
right. That's
To
good.
complete some of
Well,
that.
They might rather meet with a staff member to ask questions
Sure.
than review it online.
I did visit an algebra, pre-algebra classroom in the teacher of the year visit,
Yeah.
and it stretched our imagination, shall we say.
Well, and one of the things that, in the K-5 arena, we've used Eureka, and Eureka is very, one of the things you want to do is you make sure that you stretch students academically and challenge them. And the Eureka curriculum is one that has done that. Eureka is not on the K-5 adoption list right at this present time, but will be in future years. And so we're kind of delaying the adoption until we know all options available to us for K-5, but we are proceeding forward with 6-12 at this time. Okay, for 10, proposed allocation changes, and just one, at this point.
It's still early.
Well, the holidays doesn't give much.
Everybody's
to
laughing.
Yeah.
So, even I am chuckling, it's good.
I know.
Number-
We'll see that one adjusted.
Number 11, the monthly financial reports. Number 12 is the budget amendments. 13 is the budget amendments for November 30th. Then the traditional deletion of certain items report. And number 15 is the bid renewal. This is for the fire extinguishers and the re-roofing of shingled roofs. And you can see that they went to, they're listed at the bottom of the document, the commercial fire and Thomas May Construction for the roofing bid renewal. Now the next one, 16, is Facilitron. There's going to be a presentation here in a little bit about Facilitron. So Facilitron is a management system for use of facilities. Got to give you a general idea, so I'll just kind of save that one until Doc does her presentation at the end of this workshop. For 17, it's pre-qualification of contractors. For 18, it's the final plans and specifications for Spring Park Elementary School. The final GNP, it's March. We're looking at about April for groundbreaking, in case you're wondering on the timeline of that. A lot of positive comments. You guys apparently did a good job on the picking of the name and the mascot, and everybody seems happy with those choices. So we're looking forward to that and providing some relief to some of our elementary schools as far
It
as.
actually is a very nice sounding name, Spring Park Elementary. I like it a lot.
That's right.
And Ms. Gilhousen, your owl was a good idea.
Are they keeping the silos? Unless
It's not on our property.
Oh, that
It's
part
across-
isn't on our property.
No.
So are we after that part?
South of it, a
As
little
you're
bit south.
south, got it, thank you. People keep asking me that, and I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah, it's
is
not
it a hazard? I don't know. Could be a great PE wall climbing thing.
We're closer to Rosemary Hill.
Cereal
So, so the next item is the approval of the interlocal agreement between the county and the district. And it really has to do with a retention pond located out in front of those two schools and the movement of that retention pond.
Oh.
You know, our staff has looked at it, and it would actually increase some parking
That's what I was gonna ask.
in that area. We view that as a benefit.
And curb appeal. Yes.
And curb appeal, and maybe even like parent drop-off and that sort of thing too, because I know that you go through Lake Asbury Junior to get to Lake Asbury Elementary, to get back around, I mean, it's neat.
Okay, and then discussion one, legislative priorities. So here's what we'd like to do with this. We would like to have a discussion now. We've presented a draft. I know that Mr. Bickner has also, we emailed this draft to you, as well as Mr. Bickner kind of sent you what FADS was, and I'm sure that Florida School Boards has given you information and stuff. What we'd like to do is have a discussion so that we can generate a document that you would feel good about and would approve at the meeting. So we put the agenda item forward, realizing we had to have the discussion, make some changes, and then we would add the document with the changes attached that's discussed today. So that's kind of the way it worked. I'll turn it back over to the chair to lead the discussion, and we'll go from there. And Ms. Dennis, she'll take good
Yep.
notes. Okay.
Sounds good. Just a couple of things before we begin. I was making notes about the dates that are coming up. And I know that our FSBA days in the legislature coincide with our next school board meeting in February. So I'm assuming, I don't know what we'll be doing for the board of directors with FSBA during that time.
There is
But,
a meeting that day.
There is a meeting on the 3rd, so, but we have a school board meeting on the 3rd, and the 4th is our Teacher of the Year event, just so you're aware of the timing there. But we go back to Tallahassee on the 17th, which is our Clay Day in Tallahassee. And I found it very helpful in the past, and actually pretty, for want of a better word, efficient, to deliver our legislative priorities to the legislators and senators, state senators, who are on any education committees. Not appointments, not let's sit down and talk, but going up to their aides. And if we are still acquiring some Keystone Heights
cookies.
cookies,
We've reached, I believe we have
awesome,
reached out.
awesome. What we do is we deliver the cookies to the aides. We cannot give them to the legislator or the senators, but it's amazing how that paper then goes to the top of the pile. And in fact, it frequently got us an introduction to that person as well, with the opportunity just to say thank you. Thank you for what you've done for our teachers up to this point. Thank you for what you're doing for education, and generally we'll say public education, keep up the good work sort of thing, and then hand over our priorities. And it's in their hands. They do look at it. They do make that connection. So with that in mind, the ideas here do center quite heavily on asking for additional funding.
Similar to FSBA's.
So, but I'm sorry, Ms. Kirikas, you were saying?
It is similar to FSBA's. I know you were looking at those also.
Exactly. Yep. So any comments, questions about any of these?
I'm thrilled to see the 2 mil back there.
Yes.
I mean, we should have gone back to 2 mil, and I don't have very high expectations, but it can't hurt to ask, to restore that to what it used to be. No, I think you've covered everything very well.
So you know, the document, when we met, when FADS had met, we were talking about, certainly mental health and the need for that as one area, as well as, stability in the budget. Because I don't know if the board recognizes, and I'm sure you do, that the money that was earmarked for TSIA, the teacher salary increase to help us get to the 47.5, is a separate line item. And so when that occurs, it always is concerning to me that there'll be some sort of adopting or adapting of that number. If that occurs, that is a direct cut to the budget, which would put serious economic issues for our district now. You know, because now the state has paid a certain amount out to the districts. That money needs to stay, you know, pretty much forever. If they alter it, it's a direct cut to the district.
So I think all of these priorities are great. I think one thing we could do to kind of, just to make it clear exactly what we want. I feel like anytime you're asking for funding, it's always a good plan to show the need and to show the plan for the additional funding. So when we talk about things like providing adequate funding to recruit and compensate CTE instructors, I think under that bullet point, having, you know, this is what an electrician makes in the field, this is what they make when they come to teach for the school district, so that it's apparent why it's difficult to recruit those industry masters to teach our students. And then if we can bullet point those specific CTE positions that we're looking to fill, maybe talk about how long they've been vacant, how difficult it has been to fill those historically. I think all of that kind of paints the picture for not just the need, but this is our plan. We're not just asking for money for the sake of money's sake, but we have a plan for this money, and this is what we could give students if we had it. And I think CTE is one easy way to kind of paint that picture because it's very specific. More general asks, I think, are a little more difficult to get into the weeds of the funding, but that's one that you can really, and I think historically, when we have asked for money, like I think about the performing arts school, the way that we earmarked that with the state, I think it was easier to kind of sell it to them and get their support when they knew exactly where those dollars were going to be spent.
Our only obstacle will be if it's longer than a one page, we're gonna lose their interest. Remember the year we went out and we brought the artwork and we only gave out our CTE, or no, we had Nicole made a brochure about our district. We didn't ask for anything, we just said thank you for, you know, everything you do for education. You know, I think that was a positive year for us, just because, you know, we weren't, but I do know if we have more than one page, so you have to be creative in how you put this together. If it's more than one page, they're not gonna look at it.
Well, I think something that's different from historical standing is that Senator Bradley is on the education committee, and she's a local representative.
Right.
So I feel like we have an opportunity there to really have some conversations, even if you can't fit it on a one sheet.
Maybe we could do an attachment with it, have our bullets, and then an attachment for each one, and we could go into more detail. Then if they only want to glance at the front page, they get the gist of what we want.
Well, we went to that CTE day, what was it, a couple weeks ago, where they talked about what we offer, what we need to offer. You know, there's some really great presentations that are already put together.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily have to be additional work.
Yeah, no, I don't view that as additional work. The whole reason why we're asking for it is because we're aware of it.
Right.
And so using what we're aware of to embed it into this. The other thing, and I agree with the bullet points, it's great to have the bullet points. There are a couple of things in here that I know are already being, how shall I say, pursued, perhaps on the federal side of things. Kat Kamek keeps talking about bringing broadband into the Navy, into the community. Well, the federal government just passed the bill to bring broadband into the community. Do we need to ask for additional broadband if it's being pursued from that perspective, from the state perspective, from the county perspective? I don't know. I don't know if we need to duplicate. So even fine-tuning some of those bullet points in order to give just an example line. All it needs to be is a bullet point, CTE funding example. An electrician in the community makes
To be
blank and
able to
blank.
compete
A
with the.
teacher in
Yeah.
CTE makes this.
Yeah,
Not
I
that they
mean,
need to,
seriously simple bullet
Right.
points.
just to compete with
and
the
it's
doesn't-
not
private
that
sector.
they
you
get
can
to be
read.
the same,
Yeah, I
because
mean, you know, I
obviously
mean,
it's a-
that's-
And we know that's a real problem,
Yes. The other,
especially, you know, our painters and, you know, electricians, like you pointed out.
there was another, hold school districts harmless, that, I mean, certain bullet points are, they're going to understand that. Where was the one that I saw, you were saying that, and I thought, oh,
Well,
that would be it too.
CTE is a hot button, discussion, point of discussion at the state level. It's something that
Mhm.
our state representatives and senators want to get behind. So if you give them a more clear view of, you know, historically, this is what we've offered. If we had your support, here's what we could offer. I think it definitely would give Senator Bradley
Oh, yes, oh, yeah.
a view into her.
Well, and they need those speaking points as well.
Exactly.
You think they have them,
Well,
but
it's
you
not their
can't assume
wheelhouse, though.
anything. It's sort of
Yeah.
like, let's feed it to them so they can
Exactly.
use that as well. The other side of that, increase the base student allocation, that was the one that I was thinking of, to support new additional reporting requirements. There were a number of things that when we were going through the budget, Doc was saying things like, okay, in the past we've had funding for this, and now it's part of the base student allocation, and it's earmarked for thus and so. I mean, DeSantis is already talking about next year's budget, and he's already encouraging lots of money to be spent on police, prisons, and schools, and da-da-da-da. When you're looking at that, the number that comes out, everybody's eyes saying, oh my gosh, look at all of this money that they're giving to teachers and at schools. But it never defines how it's earmarked. And we have lost funding this year in areas that we had funding previously. Similar sort of thing, just a bullet point. Last year, whatever account we were allocated this amount of money for our distribution purposes. Now it's earmarked for blank, no longer available to us.
Reduced by whatever the percentage is.
Exactly.
So, suggestion, what if under your bullet point where you have wording, you do a graphic underneath it? So that way you're hitting them both with text and with visual. So that you can show, like on a chart, here's the, you know, if we had 100% of our CTE positions filled, it would look like this, but this is where we're sitting.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Or, you know, if you could show like a salary and what portion of the salary in a pie chart we're paying in the school district for our CTE instructors. And then the same, I think, with the bullet point under student and school investments where it says increase funding for student discipline and support services.
Mhm.
We can definitely put some charts and graphs showing the need for mental health, you know, our social work positions and how difficult those are to fill.
And with that particular bullet, you can start with the increased funding for student discipline and support services with the graphic then beneath it, you know.
And we just did that
Typical,
survey
typical,
with,
yeah.
they showed it at our last meeting, they did a survey where they showed where the community wants us to spend our dollars, and their mental health was one
Mental
of
health
the,
is huge.
one of the things in there,
As
so,
was CTE.
right.
That's, yes,
So that would
You
be
can
an
add
easy
anything
graphic to
to
put
it.
under
I know you
this.
wanna say something.
right.
So we still sticking to the one page and then a supporting document
What
to go on to this, or?
I would, sorry, we're all visualizing something, I'm certain. I'm listening to Ms. Gilhouse and Ms. Kirkus. What we've done in the past, what we can do, and I'm looking at Ms. Christmas sitting over here going, are you listening to all of it, and form it into one document. One document,
Hey, why don't
pardon
we
me.
do it as a
As-
brochure,
And that's what,
and then just a front and back.
this is sort of boring, sorry. If I went into I mean, but we've used this in the
This is
past,
what-
I understand. But if I use this in a legislative office and I dropped it, it would be lost forever. Amen. We need color,
Hey,
we need a thank you
a
in there.
threefold.
Maybe not so much information, and truly, Clay County District Schools, they're gonna be hearing about us downstairs, they're going to be hearing music, I assume. They're going to be eating our food, they know when Clay County hits Tallahassee. I
So,
love it.
Ms.
It is
Boland.
awesome. But then,
what if we make this specific to Clay County? Instead
Yes.
of reiterating what FSBA has already said, what if we choose just a couple of things that, you know, we have a specific plan for this money if we can get it to Clay County? And
So
we
what you're
focus-
talking about is the year that we did the performing arts, that
Exactly.
type of
And
layout.
look how successful
That
we
was
were.
very, because there were 4 bullets on there, and we broke it down into what we wanted for each one and why,
Right.
where the money went and what it would cost. And it
So-
was bringing an
And-
IB program to the elementary.
Right, and with that idea,
Yeah.
And we did student artwork that year because
We
it tied
did.
in with performing arts.
And we
where with
really
this-
weren't asking, we were just thanking.
Correct,
And-
and if you've got culinary providing cookies, that's part of our CTE
Mhm.
program. I mean, there's ways that we can make this a whole presentation, that I think.
but we have to make it concise.
Yeah.
Concise,
And
exactly.
a
We have to
pamphlet's
make it
easier for us
concise.
to carry.
So could you guys narrow it down to the 4 or 5 that you would like to be illustrated on a pamphlet
Could
sort of
some of,
format?
could some of these, and I know that you worked with your staff in determining what their needs were, which is critical, because we need to hear from the assistant superintendents and all of the staff as to what the needs are within the overall district. Do some of these points overlap a little bit? So for instance, you're talking about CTE in the first one, and then you go down to student school investments, increase funding for career technical. Those two go together, obviously. So that would bring it down to one of those, for instance. Student discipline support services,
So you could go CTE, you could go with a general category of
Like-
funding.
4 general categories perhaps, 5 max.
Maybe
But
combine
generally-
the Clay Virtual into that
into
Right.
the
as
funding.
just one funding.
Right. I don't know, with the broadband, I don't know that we even, I don't feel like, you might have a better feeling as to
I
whether
think
we
it's
need
already
to
on so
jump
many,
into
like,
that.
radar.
That's- Yes,
I know the
that's,
county commissioners are dealing with that,
Yeah.
and like you
And I
said,
can tell
Kamic, so a
from
lot of people have
somebody-
that on their radar, I know that.
From somebody who's not steeped in education, the question would be, well, why do you need year-round funding for Clay Virtual Academy? You're asking for it, but what's the need, and what are you gonna use it for?
and going in with provide adequate funding to support full-day VPK programs. I mean, there's funding for program, and so that would be one bullet. Program funding that's critical to, preparing students for school.
Cover a variety of things.
And give those bullet points underneath it then, saying, this is why, the why, the why, the
Well,
why.
and to me, the VPK program funding is a state issue, it's not necessarily a Clay County issue. And if we're
But
going.
it is, I mean, they go hand in hand, because
Well,
if the state
right.
doesn't offer it, then we,
Yeah.
we can't provide it.
No, I understand that.
So-
I guess my point was, is that something that's being championed by every other school board in the state?
I think it is, because it is crucial for incoming students, but I will tell you where the dilemma probably comes is people whose children have graduated and are, young adults now, look at that and think, why are we providing, preschool daycare when their children went, you sent them to Little Lambs and you paid for it, and they're thinking, why are our tax dollars going to that now? And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about that.
Sure.
But I do know that when we were out at FSBA, if you remember,
Mhm.
it was talked about.
Mhm.
I
the
think it's
VPK.
important. I
It-
think
it
it's very
really is.
important. But
It is.
I want us to be strategic in our ask, because I think that, the less you ask and the more detailed your ask is, the more successful you're going to be.
So kind of hearing that, if I could, I was thinking, I looked at this and kind of said I could break it down to 3 major topics. One would be the CTE, one would be the funding issues, and the other really deals with the almost second to last bullet, where it's talking about essentially what I'm calling workforce needs
Right.
for students and why we need those.
And that's an important one to keep.
Absolutely.
So I was kind of looking, if you're trying to narrow it down to 3 or so that's gonna fit on a pamphlet style thing, that could be the 3 major
Can be 3 panels.
topics.
I mean, quite seriously, this is one with a panel, this is another one with a panel, it's another with a panel. Or if you're doing something that's more easily read even than a pamphlet, 1 page, but with the graphics that support those 3 areas. With Clay County, obviously, being out front, But that's, yeah, and thank you, some embedded in that,
Right.
and continue, and I don't wanna say needs, I hate that word because it sounds like we're begging.
Well, we appreciate
but-
the, you know,
but
continue to
the
fund public
continued-
education.
The
Thank you
continued
for-
support of,
yeah,
yes, yes.
And maybe put something, I mean, we don't need to because it might be too wordy, but if the base student allocation really does get to 8,000, it will be the highest it ever was, I think. So, you know, that's remarkable to think that.
It's remarkable, but here again, it's earmarked with so many
I know. It's not free money to just use
stipulations.
as you.
Yes, it's
you know.
not a general, there,
Yeah.
that sort of thing, yes.
So is that the direction the board would like to go? I heard 3 major topics, CTE, funding, types of issues, and the workforce, tying into student needs.
Do the other board members want to add anything?
I agree with those. I think the more specific we can be, the better we'll be too. I think when you're so broad that they think, oh, well, that's something everybody's asking for.
It's kind of like, you know, when you're reading your son's wish list and he asks for a pony versus he asks for the
Ballet slippers
electronic
and a
one,
pony
you know?
was every year, and it was like, good luck. The yard won't support it.
Can I ask one other question would be,
Yes.
the changing of the numbers for board members, so the new pamphlet then would have the new numbers.
Yes.
Because it will be presented after the year, the
It
new
would-
year. Yeah.
It changes December 31st, so this would be voted on in January, yes.
Yeah, I have a question, because I'm just looking at it as the timeline for the pamphlet, knowing our graphic designer is off next week. And having when to have this loaded on as backup and everything. Is this something where maybe the actual vote of what you guys vote on is like a document like this, and then we make a pamphlet that would be what would be given out?
That would be
Like, you don't
ideal.
wanna necessarily have to vote on a brochure as your backup.
No.
Right.
Okay, that
Yes.
would, because that way,
Just
we
the
know the
information
points.
that's going to be on it,
correct,
Yes.
we'll vote on to make sure that it's what we've all discussed.
yes.
But then the actual
When it comes to
pamphlet
the
itself,
design elements of it from the communications department, okay, that would be something we could
and we
pretty up
wouldn't
and
need
have.
that till February.
Yeah, because I was like, to have that by January 6th, well, a
Yeah.
week before January 6th,
She's
she loaded
good
us
though,
back
she's
up.
new,
Okay.
she wants to impress us, no.
I think
Sorry,
the year
Laura.
we did the artwork, I don't know if you guys remember, but I think I picked those pamphlets up like the
Oh, the
morning
day
of.
Yes,
before,
I remember printing them out.
Miss Clark, we haven't heard from you.
Well, I'm
This is
taking it
new,
all
yeah.
in because obviously I'm not privy to what was presented in years past, but I was gonna add, and I'm glad you mentioned the graph situation, because when I did books and presented every month to each company, showing them the financial statement, but especially physicians, you show them the graph, they get it,
Mhm.
you know, and it's so much they're then more interested, so I think that's a perfect idea.
And especially if we're gonna present these on the Clay Day, I would really like it if we could figure out a way to get some of our CTE students there for that. To kind of highlight the programs and let them talk
We can
about.
take them along with us
So-
to our, to the Senate
their-
rooms
to their
and.
I don't know if any of you were there the very first Clay Day that we did, but we had a bunch of our CTE, we had Kathy Schofield out with
Yes.
kids doing the robotics.
Oh, the robotics,
We had
that's
somebody
right.
doing, with a drone. We had our culinary kids walking around with trays serving food. We actually had a lot of stuff set up. There were probably like 2 or 3 tent, an area really big of different CTE
Mhm.
And I
programs
think
that were set up.
in the line of graphics, part of what would be important to highlight is, if we have the data to show, the gaps in the workforce, first of all,
Mhm.
versus what we offer to meet those gaps in the workforce, and how many of our students who participate in those CTE programs then go on to careers in those areas. of
And that
need.
was provided at that CTE program that
Was
we
it? I didn't
attended.
see that. from
Well,
you.
some of it was.
Okay.
What they did was when they broke off into the high school groups, and the high schools were doing some self-evaluation. It
Right.
was, the whole purpose was to do a self-evaluation of the CTE program, which
Right.
is required by the state. And this was the first time they had the opportunity to do it.
Mhm.
And when they got into the high school groups, I sat with Fleming Island High, and they were looking at all of their programs and thinking, how can we best
Seats available
implement some of
versus-
these programs to meet the needs? One of the things that came to mind was photography, because they have a phenomenal photography program. And it was like, so where do you go with that? Well, if you combine photography with drones, which most drones now have the videography and other things, there are all sorts of opportunities there for job enhancement, whatever.
Right.
So, I mean, and that, it was fun because people were just throwing out ideas. And that was, but there were those opportunities then at the schools.
Right.
So that they could see, well, this particular CT program really isn't as beneficial as it has been in the past. So
Correct.
maybe we need to move away from that one and move into a new one.
Right.
Which is great.
Right.
Maybe
No,
you can
we
get
have
access to some of the stats that were presented that day. And,
That would come through Ms. Mosley and
Right.
Ms. Polk,
Right.
most definitely,
yeah.
whatever they
What
have.
was the name of the organization that presented at the start of that meeting?
No, Anna Liebisch
It was Anna
and
Liebisch, but I can't remember what her,
she's with the Northeast,
Jack's
USA.
Jack's
Jack's
USA,
USA.
that's it.
they would probably, I would imagine, be more than
Yeah.
willing to share some of their data and graphics with us, because their presentation was very polished
And it was very
and very informational and
informational,
specific to our
very much
region,
so, yes.
which I think would be applicable to when we go to the legislature as, our Clay Day.
So Clay Day, just so everybody can get it on their calendars, is February 17th, just so everybody knows. Is that enough
Good.
information for you?
I think so.
Here, let's just rip this one up and start on. This was awesome, thank
We
you.
didn't go too
And
far off of his.
Not at all, no,
particular-
it's using
Yeah.
these and just refining them a
And
bit.
and you may have
Somewhere keep that 2 mil in there.
the governor's, the governor's proposal of, I think it was 124 increase in BSA is, once you go through the political process of going to both houses, that it almost never remains
Right.
the same. So it
Exactly.
always looks great, to start, and then there's the whittling down that occurs. And so, the part, I look at it as bringing forth legislative priorities is trying to prevent the whittling
Right,
down as much
let's
as,
whittle it
as
for 'em.
much as you can, right? is where we're at.
We'll tell them what's important.
And
That's
as you pointed out, a lot of the stuff, or several of the things on here are already on FSBA and FADS. And so, as an organization, they're asking for that already.
Okay, so back to the discussion agenda, the very last item is the bid renewal for athletic field maintenance. This is a renewal of what I believe was a 3-year contract. And this is the renewal for next year. And that completes the agenda review. Next, we have the esteemed Stephen Mills giving a presentation.
Oh, look at him, he's all in back in
Program
uniform.
called Safer Watch.
Hello, may I stand up here?
Yeah, sure.
All right, I appreciate the opportunity as your safety specialist to come and talk to you today about the new Safer Watch panic button, mobile panic button app that we are getting. And it's a great system, and I really appreciate it. Back in 2020, Florida statute 10.006.07 was established where it mandated, and we've been handed down a bunch of mandates since the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act came about, or the situation down at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. But it mandates that all district schools and charter schools have some type of mobile panic button app in place by 21-22 school year. We are in that school year right now, but we've been, as in Clay County, and we seem to be always on the forefront of getting ahead of these situations. And Clay County has been, basically, we already have a mobile, we already have an app in place called the Rave app. It's not as good, it's basically a panic button, and that's it, okay? But this has more capabilities, and I'm gonna explain those capabilities as we go through the presentation. At the end of this presentation, there will be a short video, and it kind of explains and touches the highlights of what I'm discussing right now. But, of course, Alyssa's law, the law is Alyssa's law. It was named after one of the students that passed away at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in 2018, along with 16 other students and staff. Once again, the district has been in compliance with the RAVE app already, and this is good news. The Safer Watch system is free to the school district. The legislature has set aside $6.4 million to make sure that each school and charter school has the funding to have this system, the life-saving system in place. During the selection process, we had numerous companies to choose from. One of those was the old system we had was RAVE, but we decided on Safer Watch due to its capabilities, and I'm going to discuss them, I promise, as we go through this presentation. Safer Watch is able to integrate with local 911 systems and has been approved by our 911 coordinator, which is out of the EOC, and which is very, very important. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't even know if RAVE had that capability. I really don't know. So, types of emergencies that Safer Watch that can be reported through Safer Watch is active assailant, and that seems to be the going thing around the country right now. Michigan, four dead, several hurt. Any other police emergency, medical emergency, and fire emergency. And Safer Watch also reduces the time during emergency. You ask how, is this, if you ever had to call 911, you are inundated with questions about who, what, when, where, how, why, who are you, well, where are you calling from? Those are needed questions, but as a caller, it can be, you can get irritated. And sometimes the caller hangs up, says, I just want to report a crime, I just want to report an active shooter, and you're asking me all these questions, okay? But those questions are important. But with this one touch of a button on your cell phone, the information that goes straight to the 911 system. 911 system, we know exactly where you are, what you are calling about through geofencing and GPS. You ask, well, everybody kind of knows what GPS is. We use it every day with our maps and the Google Maps in our car. But geofencing is basically a virtual fence that's placed around our properties. And anytime you enter that property, your panic button will work. I was just playing with it last night and brought it up at the house. My panic button wasn't even on the phone. As soon as I got to work this morning, because all these buildings around the district here have that capability, the panic button comes up. Okay, so it does work. It's been tested numerous times, and we are ready for it. It reduces call transfer errors. We have 4 dispatch centers in Clay County. Clay County Sheriff's Office, Orange Park Police Department, Green Cove Springs, and Public Safety, which is the fire department. If we ever have a situation such as an active assailant, those communication centers are going to be overwhelmed with 911 calls. Students calling 911, teachers calling 911, parents calling 911. We're going to get overwhelmed. Calls are going to be dropped. Calls are going to be transferred to the wrong agencies. And that's some of the same situation that was going on down in Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. Okay, officers wasn't even routed to the correct location. Okay, we don't want that to happen here in Clay County. With this system, it's going to alleviate that. And improves on-site coordination. Instantly, the SRO, the guardian, if assigned to the school, and the staff, administrative staff, will know instantly there's a situation on campus and they can act accordingly to it. This is what the RAVE app did not have that is so important, is that it has the capability of sending text messages back and forth from the 911 center to the teacher, and keeps them basically up to date. If we're in a lockdown situation for hours, we can continue to pump that information, saying the situation is under control, law enforcement will be in contact with you as soon as possible, please stay in lockdown, be prepared to go to your reunification location. So that is one of the reasons why we chose Safer Watch.
What level would the students have for reporting? Like with the
Okay.
REV program, students would report to the administrator, but then the administrator was the one that would
Right.
report.
Students will also be able to download the app, but they will not be able to, they will not have the panic button option. They will be able to, just like any other citizen here in Clay County, and I'm gonna talk about what the sheriff is gonna bring forth to the citizens of Clay County. They will be able to send tips. It's just like with the Fortify Florida, sometimes we get these foolish tips from the students and so forth. We're gonna probably have a little bit of that, okay? Well, we're gonna educate them, you know, they can get in a little bit of trouble if they, you know, violate that. But we still get them from time to time from Fortify Florida, but it has slowed down a lot. It's slowed down a lot. But, they will be able to send tips also.
But teachers will have the opportunity for the panic.
Yes, ma'am. Only,
So, yeah, I'm just thinking for a teacher's phone,
mhm,
I'm at home, I don't have the panic button in my house.
right,
But when I get to my school, that geofencing around the school property
yes, ma'am,
will initiate the panic button.
right,
And so if I'm in my classroom, or if I'm in resource, or if I'm out on the PE field or whatever, and something occurs, I can hit that panic button, and immediately that communication will begin then.
absolutely.
And we've not had the texting option,
We have not.
so is there any texting option to teachers at this point?
Right now, if you text 911, you can text back and forth to 911.
Okay,
That's been probably for the last,
but in any of our, what am I trying to say? Drills. There are no, let's say if we had a drill of some sort, there's no texting option that the principal can send a text out to the teacher saying, all clear, or, you know, active shooter gone, or any, whatever, anything like that.
there are capabilities to do messaging to a school. It has those capabilities.
Okay, but this one would go directly to that. I mean, if
Yes,
there
ma'am.
was a,
We gotta understand that
take your
this is,
students, go to here, keep your phone on, and we're gonna keep,
right,
I love that. That's critical. Because so often teachers don't know what's going on.
And
What
it
happened
did-
with Margaret
and
Stone
it did prove that having this app, what we saw in some of the after-action reports up in Michigan, that student actually was knocking on doors, identifying himself as law enforcement to get them to open the door up. This will be able to communicate back, stay put.
Yep.
Because it's actually going to come from us. They can't get it from
Yep.
anywhere else. It'll come from 911 center.
And in most of the drills, when you do have a lockdown drill, most definitely, I mean, depending on who the custodian or who the administrator was coming to your classroom, there would be a knock on the door, or a yank on the door, and the whole 9 yards, and the kids would just sit there knowing, no, we're in a lockdown drill, no noise, no nothing, this is it.
and that's how,
they were
they
great.
are trained.
Yeah.
And those kids up in Michigan did the right thing.
Yes,
They had an opportunity to leave, and they took that chance, and,
Mhm.
they knew the suspect was outside the door, so they decided to exit the window. But I think they did a good job.
Did they have any of those kind of apps, those students?
I am not sure
Okay.
about that. I'm not sure about that. Just want to let everybody know, this is not a replacement for 911. It augments the communication, and you feel free, if you push a button, you feel free to call 911 if you can. There's going to be some teachers that may not want to download, or staff that may not want to upload this Safer Watch app, but we strongly encourage it. Since we're talking about that, there's been some concerns from, not from here, but from other agencies or districts that, does the Safer Watch app track you or give out your location to other people? And that's absolutely no. The only time it does is when you manually push that button, and that's when it becomes live, and yes, we know where you are at that time. You gotta understand, this has been tested several times throughout the summer, or throughout the year, and it works to a T. We've asked officers to move to the, who are helping us test it, move to the wood line. They would push the button, we could bring it up on GPS, and they were actually where they said they were, or inside the building. So it gives you a direct hit and know where first responders where to go. It's not a guessing game. It's not a guessing game at all. Takes you right to where you need to go. Sheriff Cook, Michelle Cook, is bringing, as I said earlier, is bringing the Safer Watch system to the citizens of Clay County. She had it when she was the chief of police over at Atlantic Beach. She is, she's been an advocate for it, and when we were deciding to go to the, it was a easy decision based on what she was telling us. And we are partnering with her and the sheriff's office. The citizens of Clay County can download the app, report tips and concerns, crimes and so forth, and our system works with her system, okay? So it's gonna be a great system. You know, time saves lives. Time equals lives. The quicker that, well, everything that we've done as a school district, the fencing, the camera systems, and, you know, thank you to our facilities department that are on top of these things, the fencing, the locking of the doors, the mandates on locking of the doors, the drills, and now the Safer Watch is one layer. Each one of those are designed to stop or slow down the suspect so that we can get there. So that concludes my presentation. We're gonna watch a quick video. You will recognize some of these cast of characters. Okay, so
Characters is a key word here, Ron.
so thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you. If you have any questions, let me know.
When there's a school threat, seconds matter.
Our district has a new safety tool right at our fingertips. It can make those seconds count.
Clay County District Schools selected the Safer Watch app in order to give staff the ability to report a threat with a single touch of a button. We've partnered with the Clay County Sheriff's Office, Orange Park Police Department, and Green Cove Springs Police Department to enable the entire county to have this access.
The app allows you to report a threat, suspicious activity, or a tip in multiple ways. You can send a quick message or a photo, or an immediate emergency, hit the panic button.
This information immediately goes to the Clay County Sheriff's Office dispatch, where it is then forwarded to the appropriate first responder.
Only district school personnel will have access to the school panic button. It will become active in and around all Clay County District school buildings.
You can submit a tip or report suspicious activity from anywhere in the county.
Does not track online activity. If there's limited cell service, you're able to connect to the district's Wi-Fi.
Remember, every second counts in an emergency. Having this app at your fingertips can make every second count.
I'm not sure about the acting in that video. I do not certify it at all. But I would say this, you know, in all seriousness, we've seen what happened in Michigan, and of course what's happened many times. You know, being prepared is so important, and in today's world it becomes even more important. And so just my perspective on all of this, if I could, we did have an app prior, but it didn't have the endorsement or the ringing of the employees to have it on their cell phone. You can't mandate that people have it on their personal cell phone. We've had meetings with both CCA and CESPA, you know, a number of meetings about the need for employees to buy into the fact that they should want to have on their phone this ability to do this. And so, in addition, there is the capability of our camera systems also being viewed in an emergency. So you can imagine how this aids law enforcement if an event were to occur. The ability to know exactly where on campus to access the cameras to see what's happening down that hallway or that segment of the school and make real-time decisions quickly, very, very important. So the urging of employees to have this on the phone, all employees, right? Because even our maintenance folks go from school to school, right? And so they're apt to see things that other people wouldn't see. It just becomes so important. I do think that you will find, you know, some people report tips erroneously or sometimes erroneously on purpose. And that's just a product of a system that we'll have to deal with. We dealt with that with Fortify Florida, and we'll continue to not use good common sense when it comes to situations like this. So for me, it was a no-brainer when you look at the fact that the whole county would be under the same program, and the sheriff's office would take some of the responsibility of monitoring that. It's kind of a no-brainer in my estimation, but I just wanted to tell you, we're looking for that to be transitioned in January and February. We're looking for the support of our employees to load this on their phone and be vigilant for these kinds of events if they were to occur. Any questions?
I do have a question regarding location. Of course, you know, we have areas where, of course, I know we're primarily talking about the school, but say, for example, a person that's in an area that's close to Duval County or in Duval County, but they're like Clay Hill, for example, or in Keystone where we have several counties. Will it pick up those locations if you're not in Clay County?
For the panic alarm?
Yes.
No, it's only at the school.
Okay, but I mean, the Safe Watch, like they were talking about citizens of Clay County, but what if they wind up in an area that's Duval County, for example?
If you were to put a tip in or anything like that, even if you're in Duval County, it doesn't matter, it'll still vet through.
Okay.
Because, for example, if you were a subscriber to Safer Watch, you can actually see Volusia County, you can even see Atlantic Beach.
Okay.
It's whatever you want to subscribe to.
I gotcha, okay.
And it's unlike Facebook where you have to seek out Facebook, Safer Watch has push notifications.
Because I know in the past, when we called the 911 one time, this person, we couldn't determine what county they were in, and it was a nightmare. They sent us to Bradford, they sent us to Putnam, they sent us to 3 or 4 counties before we got to the right place.
If you select Clay County, it will go to Clay County. Because cell phones, when you're dealing with 911 with cell phones, all cell phones in Clay County go to the sheriff's office, regardless if you're in the town of Orange Park or in the city of Green Cove Springs. If you dial 911 on your cell phone, it immediately goes to the sheriff's office. Landlines know where to go. And sometimes when you get in those areas, down in the Four Corners area of our county, or you get up into the northwest corner of Clay County, it doesn't know, it'll pick whatever cell tower accepts you, and it does bounce around. But through the app, if you do 911 through the app, it does know where to go.
Okay.
Well, you communicate silently, or whether if they communicate with you, there's a lot of other things that if we talk individually on. They can actually send you a link and your phone can go live and you can actually show what you're seeing to the crime lab.
If I may just piggyback on that. So if, let's say, I've got the app, just using that as an example, the app would also then be able to track my GPS on the phone.
Not to a citizen out there. Only on the panic alarm can it see where you're at.
But let's say I press the panic, I press the panic and I say, I am seeing an altercation right now that needs to be reported. Then Safer Watch would be able to tell exactly where I am.
That's correct, on campus.
That's where I'm going with. I know that somebody called 911, but if they had this option, let's say at Clay Hill, perfect example, because you are technically in a Duval County address, but they would be able to zero in then on that GPS point at Clay Hill or in the environs that is in that, whatever would be in that
just
area.
as if you, even if you didn't have the app, if you dial 911, your coordinates are sent.
Right.
Even outside of our geofences, your coordinates are sent.
Thank you very much for that presentation.
Okay, next on the list we have Facilitron. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Legutko, and then we'll move from there.
Hi. Okay, so what I'd like to do is actually get the the representative for Facilitron on our, they wanna do a Google Meet or a.
Great.
So,
Mr. Trent?
That's okay. We got it, yeah.
Yes,
okay.
you are live. I'm here.
Okay.
All
There
right.
he is, okay. So this is
Hi,
Trent,
everyone.
this is Trent Allen, he represents, Facilitron, and as you know, Facilitron is a facilities management company that we are looking at to implement into our schools for facilities, use. You know, we have a robust facility use program going on in our district, so, it has become very, large to manage, so we believe looking at this could be an option to help facilitate some of the work, take away some of the workload off of our principals and our schools, and be able to be more accountable for what we're doing. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Trent. Are you there?
Yep.
Okay.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, I'm here to, of course, answer any questions. I have a little presentation if you want to see, an overview of what Facilitron is and what we do. Probably 5-minute, presentation. So does that sound like a good way to start?
Yes.
Yes, please.
All right. So can everyone see me and about to see my screen, hopefully?
Yes.
Yes.
Can everyone see?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. All right, so I'll just run through this. I'll do it quickly. We'll start with just what is Facilitron. We're a public spaces marketplace for public facilities like gyms and fields that school districts have and cities have. And for the facility owners like school districts, we're a software platform that helps you aggregate your schedules for internal use, but also you're managing this whole rental business that you have and your maintenance operation all in one place. So what we're looking at is just our scheduling and reservations platform, which is what the district would like to partner with us on. And so there's kind of two pieces to it. First, the front end, which is where the community comes to see what the district is offering for rent to the public, and on the back end, where the school administrators and the district can manage all those requests. A little bit about us, we're a little different. We partner in a different way. So we offer business services and financial services so that we can, we're sort of an extension of the district in some ways, district staff, which offloads a lot of the burdens of this facility rental program to us. So we can partner with you. We handle all the customer support, communications, and back and forth on insurance requirements and verifying insurance. And of course, we do all the invoicing and payment collections and refunds, which is convenient during, say, pandemics, but more likely when weather disruptions like hurricanes come in and kind of mass cancel everything, we can be doing the refunds for all that. So just to show you quickly an overview of what that looks like, this is our community rental site for Hillsborough County. We partner with 11 other districts in Florida, which I'll show you that. This is the rental site where the community would come. They can search for facilities. They can see search results. All these pictures we come out and take, so the district doesn't have to do any of this, so we guarantee the implementation. They can browse the photos, see where they're located on the map. They can click onto one of the facilities and see how much it costs, and an availability calendar. They can put together a request. The checkout process then is very customizable. It can have any kind of questions that the district would typically have, and we can present the insurance requirements and optional services, and then they eventually arrive at a checkout where they can pay a down payment or whatever the district requires for fees. What's nice about this is that the board has policies on what different organizations in the community are supposed to be charged, and that's one of the challenges a lot of times with facility rental programs at school districts, making sure that everyone is being charged actually what the district has required. But there's a lot of flexibility so that the district can make modifications on all that. It's all part of the platform. So when a request is made, people get an email, and they're able to, and the stakeholders are able to know that there's a new request that can be looked at. Then on the back end, this is where the school site administrators or the district is managing all the reservations, not only the community reservations, but internal requests for use of the facilities for school activities. There's also a nice district calendar, which is another benefit of the system. The district can have a calendar of everything that's going on at all the schools across the district. And that, by the way, includes facilities and rooms and conference rooms and things that aren't rented to the public, but they are internally used. So, for example, the room you guys may be in right now might not be something rented to the public, but it's still something managed through the platform and can even be requested and that sort of thing, scheduled. There's a list of pending reservations that the administrators would be able to look at. They'll be able to go into each individual reservation and make a judgment on whether they want to approve it or decline it. This is just a small piece of that reservation detail page, but on that page is all the information about who's requesting, the approvers who may approve it from the site, the school site, the athletic director, or something may be part of the approval process. All the invoices, the insurance policies, they're all right here. And once this is approved, there'll be a permit issued that the user would use and could show up and verify that they are renting the space. Internally, excuse me, there we go. Internally, creating a schedule for like basketball practice or some internal event doesn't go through that front end. It's very easy to make a schedule, which is a very important part of the platform as well, having those internal schedules on there, because that removes availability for the public, of course, and it will also give the district valuable data on how all their buildings are being used, how many hours each building is being used, how much revenue has been recovered to cover the cost of the use of those buildings. And ultimately, that's where we're trying to help you guys get to, is the ability to understand what it costs for you to use your buildings internally and externally, and so that the board can have information on really what should be charged, what you want to charge the community and different organizations in the community for sharing the school facilities. Our business model is a little different. We charge service fees on those external rentals, and that allows us to not really charge the district anything out of pocket directly for any of our services, and that includes coming on down to the county there and taking photos and building out the accounts, and that includes also training, ongoing training each year as people move around to different principals are in place. There's training ongoing. None of that costs the district any money. It's all generated by the service fees. That includes, as I was saying, implementation, account management, customer support, and then finally we have other products that the district may grow into later, including like a work order system, which integrates with the scheduling system, which is nice. As far as our bona fides go, we're pretty much established across the country now, but probably more interestingly and important to you guys are the number of districts we're partnering with in Florida, which includes your neighbors to the south, Putnam County, most recently Volusia County, but also Seminole and Orange and Lake County, and then on into Central and Southwest Florida. That is my quick presentation. I wanted to keep it going very quickly. I'm sorry it took a little longer than 5 minutes. I assume that there may be some questions. I'm happy to answer.
Do you guys have any questions on this?
I have one for you, Susan. So the 10% fee is gonna come out of the rental fee, or are we raising the rental fee to cover the 10%?
Not at this time. After looking at what we're doing, what we've done, this year really is the first year I've been able to actually look and see whether or not we are coming out ahead or breaking even on our rentals, where we're able to make our expenditures and then have a little bit left over. I think once we look at it, it appears that we'll be fine with the fees right now. I may be saying that towards the end of the year, I'm not sure yet, but for right now, no.
Give us an idea of how large our rentals are, how often are people renting and what the fees, like, there was a budget line.
Well, I can't give you specifics, but what I can do is tell you that based on the analysis that I have done while looking at this product, it appears that, you know, I'll give you an example. As of, say, maybe not December, maybe September, since we opened up our buildings, we've probably generated about $58,000. This is an example. Out of that 58, I will tell you, we've been able to pay for the expenditures such as the police force if necessary, the custodian, you know, whatever expenditures that were needed to support that activity. Once that was done, we had a little bit left over, and of course, that little bit left over will support the fee for that, as well as,
That's my worry.
No, it will, as well as, I feel like, and again, looking back, I'm not gonna guarantee anything, but, possibly giving back some of these dollars, any additional dollars that we generate. This is not a money-making thing,
No.
for one. So any additional dollars we do have will go back into the school. I'm gonna give a percentage back to the school.
And putting together the schedule and the calendar, I would imagine right now, you know, each school has their own calendar of when practice is and things like that. But to put it on this, is it gonna create more of a burden for our athletic directors, our coaches at the school level?
I believe as part of training, right, Trent, the company will help create that calendar. Of course, we'll have the input of the principal and the athletic directors and, you know, whoever is involved in the school. Obviously, starting anything up, it will involve some time and effort. Once that's set up.
Susan, can I comment on this?
Sure, that's Chris.
Hi, sorry. In reality, right now, some of what's going wrong is there are so many different calendars happening at the school, and then the facility rentals are not even put onto some of those calendars, and they are double booking as is. The hope would be that they will fall in love with the Facilitron calendar and be able to pour all of their usage onto one calendar, and that way they are avoiding double booking even internally. They're literally double booking their own events because there's an athletic calendar and there's a different calendar and there's a school calendar, and this should, if training goes well and they buy into it, this should solve a lot of our problems, including payment problems, because they have the ability to allow us to, or allow the vendors to pay via credit card.
Ms. Karrakis, I'd also say that, you know, each school has like a site-based administrator that's in charge of all the paperwork right now. So the time that they won't have to spend on the paperwork, they can do the calendar.
Well, this sounds great.
Absolutely.
Please include the board on this so that we will have access to it, to be able to see, you know, what's going on where.
True, that's a great idea.
It's something Bonnie and I just spoke about 2 days ago with the board docs.
Yep.
And I can tell you, as a former principal, not everything fits on the calendar. You
No,
know,
yeah,
you all of
that's
a sudden they say, oh, I need the cafeteria tomorrow because and then you find out there's something else already happening. So I think, you know, to be clear about, you know, it's very important to have that calendar updated because that happens a lot, so.
Well, and
Absolutely.
The other side of this is whoever the person is, let's say the assistant principal, is responsible for setting up reservations for folks outside of the school. And I know Middleburg Elementary has gone through all sorts of things. You know, what's it going to cost? How is it going to play out? How many days do you need it? Yes, you need an officer. Yes, you need, you know, custodial support, et cetera, only to go back and forth with community members and then find out that they can't afford to rent the facility. The time involved right there, I think, is a huge savings.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Dr. Kemp?
Yes, ma'am. I have familiarity with this solution, started looking at it back 2017, 2018, from both a principal's perspective as well as the district administration. One of the issues we had in the past, and most districts have, is consistency with your policy of what's happening to school to school. We found that it took care of the consistency issue with our policy. It took care of the collection issues that are time consuming that often vary. It also takes care of a lot of the insurance requirements and certification before they can ever even submit. So it was a time saver as far as the schools was concerned. It was also an equity and consistency issue for the district, and it solved that policy issue being in compliance. Because quite honestly, without some type of process or system, we really don't know what's happening all the time as far as charges and who got a break and who donated this to this and gets to use the event. So it eliminates that problem. Every year I used to get complaints, and when I was in the former role, every year we used to get complaints about consistency of charges and why some got charged and why some didn't get charged. This kind of takes care of that for us.
Great.
I have a
As long as
question about
it's covering
insurance.
itself, I think that's great.
About insurance,
Yes.
they went through the slide pretty quickly. So they can they provide their own insurance, or it looked like there was a place where they'll actually provide the insurance. Did I dream
Who's
that?
they?
Meaning the company. I mean, that's a charge, but they would, whoever's renting it has to provide their own
Yes,
insurance.
yes,
Okay.
right.
So
They have
they
to
don't have availability of.
Oh, no,
Okay,
not
thank you.
yet. No, that's not.
Trent, can you elaborate? I think too, if I'm not mistaken, you do have a link where if they don't have personal insurance, you have a link to event insurance, so that is also one of the benefits. Am I correct?
That's right.
That's what I saw.
You can provide your own
Yes.
insurance. Right now in Florida, we're trying to, we actually, what you saw on that screen, in some states, we have the ability to sell insurance through a third party right on the screen. You click yes, and you pay whatever it is based on what your activity is and how many people are gonna be there, that sort of thing, and then you're covered. Right now, we don't have that in Florida, so what we have is a link that is to a third party for people who need insurance.
Because I would
We
have
should
that
have
happen.
that ability to sell insurance very, very soon.
I'd have people come up to me and say, where do I get this insurance? And they wouldn't know where to go, so that's, yeah, okay, thank you.
All right. Any other comments? Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Trent.
All right, thank you, guys.
All righty, thank you all. Thanks for having me.
So,
Have a good morning.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, you too.
so Ms. Bowler, that takes care of the whole agenda.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Very sweet voice.
Thank you, Alexa.
So, I don't want to give a shameless plug, but in the Safer Watch video, you'll notice a very attractive lady
I saw
walking
her
down.
walking.
That was Sue. She actually photobombed the Safer Watch video, so give her
I was
give her a
wondering
hard
if that was
time.
planned.
Give her a hard time if you see her around. Don't tell her I said so. Okay. So if I could, just to kind of wrap this up, I'm asking the board for a 5-minute executive session immediately after this meeting. If we could, we can go into that next room while they take care of the computers and stuff. And that is it.
Thank you. Mr. Bickner, do you have anything that you would like to add to today's conversation?
I do not.
Ms. Skillhausen?
Nothing from me?
Ms. Clark?
Both items seemed wonderful. So,
Great. Ms. Kirkus?
Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays.
Ms. Bullock?
I just have to give a shout out to our school bus drivers. Houston had their parade on Saturday, and I was a privilege to announce that parade. And one of the winners was the Clay County School District, which was a school bus decorated. They
Awesome.
run most original, and they had, I was very proud, they had on the side, "We're hiring drivers," which I'm privileged to announce that as well, so I encourage people to sign up, so, that was really nice. I don't know if they were in the other parades, but they were definitely in the Keystone parade, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to get into, I think, the Middleburg, I told them to.
It was the same time as ours, so
There you
I don't
go.
know if they were you know,
But they
the
said
Florida
it was
ones.
all full and sold out, and I
Yeah.
said, come on, tell them it's about the schools, and
Yeah.
so I don't know if they got that.
Yeah.
Well, Keystone has a great parade, so they chose wisely.
Yeah, it was really nice, so, anyway.
I have just two things I would like to bring up. You had just mentioned board docs. And Mr. Karen had reached out to Agenda Plus, if I'm not mistaken, and you're going to get some additional support for the board members, if I'm not mistaken.
They should be starting working on that now.
Awesome. And part of that addition is basically being able to research our meetings. So I never realized that we had this capability until I was talking to Ms. Dennis. And I said, you know, one of the things that we had talked about at the FSBA meeting was that Board Docs provides all of this backup information. So if I want to remember, when did we discuss the last RFP, for instance, for AgPro? I don't remember which meeting that was. You can go into Agenda Plus, type in the word, and it'll come up with all of the different meetings that we had discussed that at. And I said, no, we can't. And Ms. Dennis said, oh, yes, you can. So we are in the process of getting that for each of the board members. I'm not certain why that wasn't available when we started, but hey, we'll get it fixed now. That will at least be a step in the right direction.
One step, yeah. Are there other features that Agenda Plus has that we don't even know that we would need? You know, there are other features that you guys, staff uses that we would like to have access to?
What were the other things that you saw in board docs?
One of the things that was really nice was their calendar. And it's similar to what we just learned as far as the facility use. But it was, it would have a list of everything that is going on in our district and then broken down by, like if the school board needed to. So if Ms. Honora wanted to send an email to all the board, she could just post that one thing on board docs for all of us to see. We know to check it, and then it's in the board's calendar for all the activities. And I know we kind of have trouble getting a list of activities. It would all be one centralized calendar on board docs for the board alone. So if January, February, March, you know, instead of me saying, you know, Mrs. Bolo, when's the spelling bee? And you go in and call in and finding out, and then, you know, passing the note to write it down on my phone. It would all be already located in a central spot that we just would have to log into board docs. And if Agenda Plus had something like that, you know, for the board, it even had other things where, like our executive sessions, that we have things that are confidential. If the attorney had something that he wanted just the board to see, only the board would have access to read that. You know, but there was a section on board docs also for the general public calendar that they can go on and see everything in the district that's happening. It's just transparency for the public. So it had so many different options, and you know, I know our website, you can go on and look, and you can go to each school's website. Well, this just eliminates all of that. So that was one of the things. But the thing that I thought was really the most useful was to be able to put a search word in. And it would go through all our agendas and show, okay, you know, land, you know, the maintenance or something, whatever, you know, HVACs, whatever it was, and it would show all the agendas that we addressed that particular issue. So I went through that class and I was like, wow, there's so much more that maybe we could be doing. And I asked, had we looked at board docs at all?
Right.
And I don't remember us ever looking at it. And I don't know the cost of it.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that we had looked at board docs. This was prior to me.
I actually reached
You're
out to
with-
Mrs. Bush
Yeah.
because I didn't know if during her long and wonderful tenure, she had gone down that road, and she said she wasn't sure she believed that it had been addressed, but it was costly, and we were able to get, I guess the problem with e-agenda when we transitioned to Agenda Plus was it wasn't storing information and allowing searching properly. So we were looking for a different vehicle to do that, and Agenda Plus provided that for us.
How
And
many-
we've had, oh, I was just gonna ask when we got Agenda Plus, 2016?
When Mr. Davis.
When Mr. Davis came on board, okay.
So can we only search back to 2016?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you
Yeah.
said something about doing the legislative priorities.
Yeah, because I can see people, I can see even stuff when, Ms. Cornegay was putting stuff in prior to me, and we
Well, I
kinda
would-
crossed over at the same time.
So there's a search, and I don't know if we could get that, I guess we could get that for the board too. We have the search that's an Agenda Plus, and then at the bottom, there's that e-agenda search,
That
which
would
would
be
take us
helpful.
back to '06.
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
That'd be,
Because there are times you want to see, you know, something in the
just the
past.
historical perspective,
But, and you
absolutely.
actually want to see the backup piece.
Right,
that
right.
was there. So that would be helpful if you could do that, thank you.
The other thing I wanted to bring up was the committee assignments. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because Ms. Bullock and I talked about the Chamber of Commerce liaison, and I thought, well, I don't know what the Chamber of Commerce is.
I said, what is my responsibilities?
Yeah, this is one of those documents that we've always done it this way. Don't you just love hearing that? And it's time that we refresh it, I think. So if you would, I think all of you have a copy of this now, and not right now, over the holidays, as you're looking at your responsibilities, just, if you can come up with a 2-line comment about what that entails, it would be ideal. And we could give this a little bit of refresher. We can get rid of some of these that we don't need to do, since the superintendent updates the Chamber of Commerce, and is there a need for duplication of efforts and that sort of thing? Let's refine this, talk about what we wanted, the other side of this, we'd also talked about the foundation and getting to know more about what the foundation does, and it's sort of like, well, wait a second, I'm an ex officio member. I don't vote on anything on that foundation. There's nothing that's really brought up for a vote even in front of us. There's no reason why more than one school board member can't be involved with whatever. So that's the other side of this. Would this be really, no, this should be one school board member versus it's open to the public sort of thing? BCC meetings are open to the public. I mean, any of us can go on and watch. And do you have to be physically present? No. I mean, similar to our meetings, there are a lot of people who watch it from home. So just a thought, if you could add a comment or come up with a couple of comments, just jot them down, and give them to me, and I'll be happy to collate them, and if I have any further questions, ask, whatever. But
I'm not
does
sure
that
how-
meet, Mr. Bickner, you're looking at me, am I,
Is
or we
that
can
gonna
go
come back,
through
is that gonna come back to the board for any kind of discussion? If it is, then I think it should go to Ms. Honora.
to Ms. Honora? Great. We'll give it to Ms. Honora, and then just in case, the discussion may just simply be, I mean, and up to this point, this has always been sort of a, okay, everybody has their job, move on.
I think we could definitely consolidate some of that, like you said, you know, if it's not something that we have to vote on, I don't know that, like,
That, and I don't,
if all of us wanted to participate in going to the Economic Development Committee's meetings, you can, there's nothing preventing you from doing that, and it's not a conflict of interest, so, you know, same thing, like you said, with the Education Foundation,
Or
Chamber
the
of
chamber,
Commerce,
any
yeah,
of
all
them,
of those
yeah.
things are, I think we can revisit that. I think the committee assignments should be more for like, you know, for example, I just sat on the interviews for the construction management. That's gonna be brought to the board for a vote, so it has to be one school board member.
Correct,
So I
correct.
think that.
Value
you know,
if we
adjustment
can
board.
differentiate those things, that, and we can send that to Ms., yes.
I just think, and I hear what you're saying, but I
Honora.
think wherever two or more are gathered together and there's a discussion going on, I just got a notice that there was a dismissal of a lawsuit, I think in Volusia County, or a state attorney investigation into the sunshine violation, I think in Volusia. It may have, no, it wasn't either, it was in St. Lucie or Brevard. And it doesn't matter that they didn't find anything, what matters is it took a year to do that. And so whenever two or more are gathered together, I just caution you, sit on the other side of the room from each other and talk as little as possible, because it doesn't have to be true. It just has to be a report. And that opens up an inquiry, and that inquiry can take a year. And that inquiry can root around in all kinds of stuff in your life and the discussions that you've had, and that may lead to something else. It's just one of those cautionary things that, is it, where there's smoke, there's not always fire, but if there's smoke, there's somebody sniffing it.
When I first got on the board, and Ms. Quicker, you might remember this, we, there was something in our policy about the Clay Education Foundation that every year we, they had to have an audit done through our school system. But
They
also,
still
we
do.
had to vote on, we voted either on their board of directors or their budget, or maybe it was both, I
Go
don't
back and-
remember.
There is a section in board policy about that, and what the requirements are that must be met vis-à-vis the school board. And so there is something there. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Right,
I'll have to
but
look
the-
at it.
I think it might actually say one board member though, so we might wanna readdress that if, you know, and that's typically something that, you know, I sat on it for 3 years, Ms. Condon sat on it for 3 years, Mr. Farrell was on it for 4 years. We rotate it because everybody does want, so, you know, it might be time for you to pass the
Gavel.
whatever, pass the sword
Ex officio
to
membership.
Mrs. Bullock and let another board member have access to it. Same thing with architect and engineer, you know, we've always, it typically was always the chairman who sat on that, just like the chairman did the teacher of the year and the vice chair does the support, but, you know, it's usually rotated around, and I think we've all sat on the insurance committee and thoroughly enjoyed that.
There are good years and there are bad years with that.
If I'm not mistaken.
We've only done that 3 years now.
But I mean, that's,
Yeah,
it's been 3 years.
it's probably time to rotate
Yeah,
that too,
yeah.
and it's really,
And that's,
it's the easiest one, it's one meeting.
well, and that's just it. I mean, it's, so much of this
We
is
really
like
should
one thing.
rotate
Yeah.
and not keep the same person in every role, especially the architect and engineering. You know, it's nice, it might be nice for Ms. Clark because you really do get to see the process that these companies go through in order to, you know, put in their bids and their presentation, and you have so much more, you know, a greater appreciation for the actual construction and everything. That's, I was fortunate enough to be on the committee when we were choosing for the Discovery Oaks. Actually, it was Mrs. Stutter, but she had something come up, so I got to sit in on it. And watching these architects come in with their designs and their plans, it's really impressive. So I think I would highly encourage that we rotate at least every 2 years so that everybody's getting the opportunity
Sure.
to do.
The other thing then with this, if you would, in your sentence or two about your, the current responsibilities, let's stick with that and then nobody has to take on too much. Please indicate how many meetings there are that you attend.
Right.
Like when you say, well, there's only one meeting.
Open
So
enrollment
that,
is one.
It depends on what we're building for some of
Yeah.
them.
well, but that's,
So that
that can be
fluctuates
a
every
part of
year.
that sentence, you
It
know,
could be
depending on what we
2
build, you
meetings,
know,
or it could be 6 in a year.
we're going to be building more schools, maybe we want to alternate.
And I'll
you
be
know?
honest, I don't think we really need to have a representative at the chamber. We used to, you know, you would go,
No,
they'd have
I
their
agree.
monthly meetings, and then you'd come back and give a report. Same thing with the commission, but I don't really think we need to have that. I mean,
It's
if you
available to
enjoy
everybody,
going, by
yeah.
all means go, but, I don't think we
I
really.
try not to go because when I say, oh, we saw you at the meeting,
Yeah.
I'm home watching.
Right, yeah, and you know, we don't have to have a list of committees, you know, if everybody's on one, that's fine, and
Yeah,
it's rotated
not-
every year, it's.
That's why I'm bringing
it's
it
the
up,
right
it's
thing
one
to
of
do.
those, hey, we've always done it this way, wow, let's change a little
Don't
bit
you
and
hate
see
that
what
line? This is how we've
happens.
always done it.
And I do love the insurance part of it, so. I'm good.
And that's an eye opener, what you
that's
learn
it.
through
That's
that.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, when you had indicated the foundation, or when I volunteered to be on the foundation, I think Ms. Condon and a number of you went, oh, good, it's your turn.
Well, you
Okay,
know what,
we'll
and-
see what's going on.
And
you
kudos
know?
to the foundation, I think one of the best things
That's
they did
good.
was Mr. Davis hiring a full-time employee, because it used to be, you know, our public relations person had to sit on the foundation also, and it was just more work than really, you know, they needed, and so now having one executive director for it, and she's
We
doing a
actually
great job.
have 1.5 employees
Yeah,
right now,
that's
so that,
wonderful.
which is great. Speaking of the foundation, Tools for Schools is coming up, and as you know, Garber Automotive is giving a car to the winner of the Teacher of the Year. They have also given us a new room. And there's a huge room in Garber that they have given literally to the foundation and said, this is yours. Store in it, do whatever you want in it, and that's where Tools for Schools will be. So plenty of parking, much more centrally located for folks in
Absolutely.
Keystone And yes, it'll be a further drive for folks from Oakleaf, but if people are aware, it's from noon until 3 on January 3rd. So you may want to make a note of that. They are, obviously anybody that comes. Last time I went and volunteered, it was in October. They're doing 4 tools for schools each year now. And the support, oh my gosh, from the community just keeps growing.
They need a bigger
And
portable.
it's so wonderful. The portable was packed. I was just recording. They have an inventory now of supplies. Ideally, what they're going to be moving to is sort of, I'm looking at Miss Kidwell, what we used to do with the warehouse. Be able to go online and say, I need this construction paper, and I need these pencils, and I need, a ream of paper, or whatever. And ideally, it would be great if we could get to that point again and have our own foundation sort of equipment area or supplies area. But for now, Tools for Schools, it will be a Garber Automotive on the 3rd, and I'm looking forward to just seeing how it's all coming together.
So they're
again.
gonna move it from Orange Park Junior High to?
It's moved.
It's already done?
It's moved. It is moved. And Garber, out of the goodness of their heart, said, we don't use this facility that much. Here.
That's really
And
nice.
we thought, at first, on the foundation, people were questioning it, and the members were looking at it going, wait a minute, just for 1 year? Why move all the way over there for 1 year and then move back to this portable again? And which is how it's been treated in the past. I mean, there was always a portable, but they had done a lot of good in that portable, but wow, it'll just open it up and let people breathe, which is awesome. Ms. Kidwell.
Will that go out in a flyer to the teachers?
Yes, it's already out there on the foundation website. It's been on Facebook.
I just wondered if it's
And
gonna get
it's,
pushed
and they're
out.
on it, it's saying